Welcome to the Forefront Radio. Welcome to the Forefront Radio, where we uncover the hidden histories of our people, the lost tribes of Israel scattered across the earth, and the biblical truth about our struggles and triumphs. Today's episode is titled The Evils of Cecil Rhodes and the Prophecy of the Merchants of the Earth. We're going to explore how Cecil Rhodes and the British South Africa Company destroyed millions of Afro-Hebraic lives across Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and beyond. We'll expose how their crimes fulfill biblical prophecy from Revelation to Maccabees and reveal the true spiritual battle behind colonialism. First, let's talk about the evil of Cecil Rhodes. Rhodes wasn't just a man, he was a tyrant who dreamed of a British empire stretching from Cape Town to Cairo. His British South Africa Company raided, robbed, and massacred African people, our people, including our folks known as the Zulu, the Matabele, the Shona, and many others. Let's touch briefly upon Cecil Rhodes and the British South African Company on Wikipedia, and let's get some insight on this company. All right, hopefully y'all can see the screen. Let's share the screen so y'all can read it with me here on Wikipedia. Notice what it says here. It says the British South Africa Company, also known as BSAC or BSA Co., was chartered in 1889 following the amalgamation of Cecil Rhodes Central Search Association and the London-based Exploring Company Ltd, which had originally completed to capitalize on the expected mineral wealth of Mashonaland, but united because of common economic interests and to secure British government backing. The company received a royal charter modeled on that of the British East India Company. For those of you that are familiar with the British East India Company, you know it had a large part in the slave wars against our people. Its first directors included the second Duke, like Duke in the Bible, Dukes of Edom, of Abercorn, Rhodes himself, and the South African financier Albert Beat, meaning South European, that went to South Africa. Now, does the Bible talk about dukes? Let's find out who the dukes are. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 36, real quick. Who are the dukes according to the Bible? Let's find out. Genesis chapter 36, let's start at verse 1. It says, now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. So we're going into prophecies talking about the sons and daughters of Edom. Notice this, verse 15. These were dukes. What does the Bible say? These were dukes of the son of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman. This is where we get the Temani dynasty, also known as the Temanid dynasty, which is the dynasty of Alexander the Greek, whose father is Philip of Macedon. Then you have the sons of Esau, who are Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kanaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, Duke Amalek. This is where we get the Amalekites. Now notice, in this same article here, it's talking about dukes. Rhodes himself and a South African financier, Alfred Beat. So what did we just prove just using the Bible easily? They're Edomites according to the Bible. Rhodes hoped BSAC would promote colonialism or colonization and economic exploitation across much of South Central Africa as part of the scramble for Africa. However, his main focus was south of the Zambezi in Mashonaland and the coastal areas to its east, from which he believed the Portuguese would be removed by payment or force, and in the Transvaal, which he hoped would return British control. It has been suggested that Rhodes' ambition was to create a zone of British commercial and political influence from Cape to Cairo, meaning from South Africa all the way to Egypt. Y'all, these jokers, y'all, Tell me you want to be an evil ruler of the earth without telling me you want to be an evil ruler of the earth, y'all. Come on, y'all. From one side of Africa to the other side, from north all the way to south, y'all. This has evil henchmen written all over it. And I'm shocked and surprised why people don't see Cecil Rhodes the same way they view people like Hitler and Stalin and other mass unalivers. Watch this. But this was far beyond the resource of any commercial company it achieved and would not have given investors the financial returns they expected. The BSAC was created to in the expectation that the gold fields of Mashonaland would provide funds for the development of other areas of Central Africa, including the mineral wealth of Katanga, meaning they want to steal it. They wanted to steal it. When the expected wealth of Mashonaland did not materialize and Katanga was acquired by the Congo Free State, meaning the robbers of the Belgium, the company had little money left for significant development. After building railways, particularly in areas north of the Zambezi, BSAC regarded its land north of the Zambezi as territory to be held as cheaply as possible for future rather than immediate exploitation. Tell me you're the devil without telling me you're the devil, huh? So this and more shows you the fact that this individual named Cecil Rhodes was a wicked man. Watch this. Now notice, right? When we get further in this discussion, you're going to see something very interesting about Cecil Rhodes, how he fulfills many prophecies written in the Bible. Rhodes orchestrated wars that devastated entire nations. For example, in Zimbabwe, when called Rhodesia at the time, after his own name, this dude named an entire country full of people that were already there after his own name. Let me hold that for a second and let's go to the Bible and see, does the Bible predict certain instances where evildoers will want to rename lands after themselves? Let's go to Psalm chapter 49. Let's start at verse 11. Let's start at verse 6. It says, they that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches, none of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for his soul. Meaning what? Many people that gain riches and wealth of this world get it through corruption, exploitation, and evil. With all that money they have, they cannot save themselves from the power of destruction that comes from the Most High's judgment. Watch this. For the redemption of their soul is precious, and it ceaseth forever, that he should still live forever and not see corruption. You see, the Bible talks about corruption. Those that follow the ways of wickedness, they're not going to gain immortality. Watch this. For he seeth that the wise men die, likewise the fool and the brutish perish, and leave their wealth to others. Listen to this now. Their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Meaning what? Every time a Eurocentric invades a place that doesn't belong to them, they're going to retitle it after their own names. For example, you go all the way to North Africa, you find a place called Alexandria, Egypt. Who was it named after? Alexander the Greek. I don't call him great because nothing's great about a recessive gene and a sodomite. Nothing's great about that. And he's not my ancestor, so he's not my great nothing. Alexander the Greek was retitling a place called Alexandria, Egypt. And now this person by the name of Cecil Rhodes renamed a place Rhodesia, North Rhodesia, and South Rhodesia. Watch this. So Zimbabwe at the time in centuries ago was called Rhodesia after Cecil Rhodes. So that shows you how the Bible is a true book. Watch this. His military forces waged a brutal campaign against the Shona and Matabele in the 1890s. These wars, known as the First and Second Matabele Wars, were nothing more than acts of theft and genocide, all to seize gold and diamonds. Gold and diamonds. Ladies and gentlemen, the same pattern happened across Malawi and Zambia. Stolen land, kingdoms broken, men slaughtered, women and children held as captives, all in the name of Eurocentric profit. This is why the Bible, the scriptures, describe men like Cecil Rhodes clearly in the book of James. Let's go to the book of James, chapter 5, verse 1 to 3. Let's go to the book of James, chapter 5, verse 1. Matter of fact, we're going to read further on. Let's read verse 1 all the way to 4. Watch this. Go to now, you rich men, meaning what? Your corporations, right? Your British South Africa Company, right? Your De Beers, which are all produced by this Rhodes character. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted. What does the Bible say? Your riches are corrupted. How did they get all the wealth, all the gold, all the diamonds? Corruption. Corruption. That's what the Bible says. Corruption. Watch this. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasures together for the last days. Do you know how much billions of dollars was produced by the De Beers Company and the British South Africa Company? Billions upon billions of dollars, y'all. They still have diamonds that are still on the market till this day. Watch this. It says, behold, the hire of the laborers, meaning the slaves, who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. By what? By fraud. By what? By fraud. Here's a Christian pastor saying that the Bible doesn't relate to today, when we're literally reading a prophecy that relates to today, till this day. How many of our ancestors were laborers in the agricultural sector, working for European folks for free, and their wages were defrauded from them? Meaning they worked for centuries and didn't get not a single pay. God says they heap treasure for themselves in the last days, like gold, silver, diamonds. Then it says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, meaning what? Plantations, which is of you kept back by fraud, cries, and the cry of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, meaning God witnessed everything and he knows what's going on. Cecil Rhodes heaped treasure for himself for Britain, while our people paid with blood. Y'all, this fulfills exactly what the Bible says when it comes to the merchants of the earth. This is Bible prophecy being fulfilled. The Bible foretells about a wicked trade system in both prophecy and history intertwined. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18. Let's start at verse 11. Revelation chapter 18, let's start at verse 11. It says, and the merchants of the earth, what does the Bible say? And the merchants of the earth, what does the Bible say? And the merchants of the earth, meaning corporations, like the British South Africa Company, right? Like the company called De Beers, like many other companies that had its start through slavery and colonization. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise anymore. Watch this. The merchandise of gold and of silver and precious stones, fine linen. So wait a minute. We're reading here out of the Bible about corporations, companies that use both commerce, military, and religion to deceive the planet. Because when you read in this same book of Revelation, it talks about a religious system that would deceive the whole earth, right? It also talks about a military system composing the kings of the earth and an economic system dealing with the merchants of the earth. So your prime ministers, your presidents, your kings, your papacies, your Anglican churches, all of them had a part in trade. That's why I'm saying the merchants of the earth, meaning it's a global trade system. Let's use our critical thinking hats, because guess what? In modern day religion, they leave out history when it comes to this Bible. Watch this. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all Thyan wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors. Y'all see, a lot of people don't know about the spice trades that's done all over Africa. All of this stuff that we're reading here, from ivory to silver to gold, the wood, they stole it from Africa and the Americas. Watch this. It says, and wheat and beast and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves. What does the Bible say? And slaves. What does the Bible say? And slaves and souls of men. Wow. The British South Africa Company was nothing more than fulfillment of biblical prophecies, a corporation that traded in precious stones and souls of men and slaves. Rhodes himself said he sought wealth to expand Britain's empire. Tell me you the devil without telling me you the devil, y'all. His company stole land, stole labor, and profited from slavery disguised as settling. We're just building a colony. We just want to spread freedom and justice for all. This connects directly with 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 41, which says this, and the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. For what? For slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Y'all, the same thing happened in Africa. Merchants came with silver and gold. They were buying our people on auction blocks. They were enslaving them in their own land and selling them off for profit. From the Arab slave miners before to Rhodes and the Europeans later, the merchants of the earth worked with kings, empires, and churches to destroy us. Let's talk about the missionaries and the deception of David Livingstone. He's another example. Let's talk about that. While Rhodes used the sword, men like David Livingstone used the Bible, but not the true Bible. They weaponized and whitewashed Christianity to pacify our people. Livingstone, for example, traveled across southern Africa, preaching a gospel of submission. But behind him came commerce, and behind that commerce came the military. This was a threefold mission: Christianity, commerce, and uncivilization, which really meant deceit, robbery, and destruction and destabilization. That's what that means. When they tell you Africa is underdeveloped, that is a lie. Africa is not underdeveloped. Africa is overly exploited. The Americas was overly exploited. Black people were overly exploited. We're not a third world. We are the true world, the world of the Israelites. And they forced us on the bottom of society. That's why God says in the book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10, never trust thine enemy. For like as iron rust, so is his wickedness. There's no reason on God's green earth that you should trust any Eurocentric delusionalist at all. I don't care if they're missionaries pretending to be your friends. I don't care if they want to sit at the dinner table with you and say, I believe in your God too. We all believe in the same God. We all bleed the same blood. That's what they always say until they put the knife right into your jugular. Watch this. Offering education as a deception, offering religion as a deception, but they were spies, agents for the empire. They softened the people's hearts while Rhodes and the colonial armies came with violence. Brothers and sisters, this is why we cannot trust the seed of those who oppressed us. I don't care how much they smile. I don't care how much they say, hi, how are you? I don't care how much they donate to the ministry. I don't care how much they say, hey, let's do good for you. Let's create a Salvation Army. Let's create NGOs while we exploit. I meant to say while we encourage free trade. But our people are not weak, y'all. There were black warriors of resistance against this thing. The Shona, the Matabele, and the Zulu were mighty, 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 mighty warriors. They rose up against Rhodes' forces in the first Chimurenga, the War of Liberation in 1896. The Zulu had already resisted the British earlier under great leaders like King Shaka and King Chetshwayo. Even against rifles and cannons, our people fought bravely with spears and strategy and guerrilla warfare. They knew they were defending not just land, but life itself. This echoes our forefathers in the book of Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 64, that says, "Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in behalf of the law, for by it you shall obtain glory." Our ancestors fought valiantly, though the invaders came with an overwhelming demonic force. Their resistance stands as a testimony that Israel and Africa never willingly submitted to oppression. Let's talk about the merchants and the kings of the earth. Cecil Rhodes must be compared to other tyrants, like, for example, Nebuchadnezzar, Alexander the Greek, Antiochus Epiphanes, and even Rome itself. These men sought empire and wealth at the expense of the Israelites. You should be more familiar with Cecil Rhodes than you are with people like Hitler. More people know about Hitler than they know about Cecil Rhodes. Why is that? Revelation shows us this pattern. Merchants and kings work together. Corporations and presidents work together. Prime ministers and companies work together. Rhodes represented the merchants, while the British monarchy and the government represented the kings. Together, they fulfill the prophecy in Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. Notice this. Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. It says, "For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth," that's the presidents and prime ministers and kings and monarchs, "have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." A lot of times in these discussions, we talk about the religious aspect of this prophecy. We talk about the rulership aspect from the political standpoint, but we rarely talk about the corporations involved in the transatlantic war against our ancestors. Remember, the Bible says they are wax rich through the abundance of her delicacies. How did the Vatican get rich? Using the kings of the earth and corporations and military. How did the Anglican Church get rich? The same way. How did Spain, Portugal, France get rich? The same way. How did Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Australia get rich? The same way. How did America get rich? The same exact way. Y'all, we're reading the Bible. Watch this. Sirach chapter 27. Sirach chapter 27. Let's start at verse 1. It says, "Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance will turn away his eyes. As a nail sticks fast between joinings of stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling." Buying what? Buying and selling. Who was waxing rich through silver, golds, and diamonds? Think about this, y'all. What are those delicacies? Gold from Zimbabwe, diamonds from South Africa, land from Malawi, resources from other parts of Africa, labor from our people in the Americas. This is Babylon the Great. And Rhodes was one of her merchants. So what can we learn from the scriptures? The scriptures tells us plainly in Sirach chapter 12 verse 16, an enemy speaks sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagines how to throw you into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. That was the missionaries. That was Cecil Rhodes. That is this system to this day. But the Most High has promises for us, folks. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 16, it says this: Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. What does the Bible say? All they that devour thee shall be devoured, meaning what goes around comes around. And all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. Into what? Into captivity. Into what? Into captivity. They never told us that in church. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that preyed upon thee will I give for a prey. The merchants of the earth will soon weep, as Revelation says, when Babylon falls. Our Messiah, the Black Messiah, will redeem his people from the hands of these oppressors. You've been listening to the Forefront Radio, where we uncover the evils of Cecil Rhodes, the merchants of the earth, and the missionaries that deceived our people. But we are here to reveal the truth of prophecy. Our suffering was foretold, and our redemption draws nigh. Stay tuned for more episodes. Subscribe to our channel. Click the like button if you haven't. Make sure you click the like button and share and subscribe to the Forefront Radio, where we unveil hidden histories of the children of Israel scattered abroad. I'm your brother from another mother, Aphiel Levi Israel, signing off. And with that, we say shalom and peace to the 12.